Hello, welcome to Life Matters. I'm your jovial host, Brendan O'Connell. Well, today we have another happy guest who's on our show, and she's had quite a career in sidewalk counseling, and her career's led all the way from just prayer at the sidewalk, on a sidewalk to the United States Supreme Court. Her name is Eleanor McCullen. She lives here in the Boston area, and she's our guest today. Well, welcome, Eleanor.
Well, thank you, Brendan. It's wonderful to be here.
Eleanor, first of all, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
How did you ever get involved in sidewalk counseling?
Well, let's see. It started back in the year 2000, and I was always pro-life, but never did anything. And I think you know Father Tom DiLorenzo. Mm-hmm. And in the year 2000, I had a dramatic experience with the Holy Spirit when I was with Father at Mass. Mm-hmm. So Father Tom said, "Why do you think that happened like that, so dramatic?" And I said, "I don't know, Father." He said, "Well, it's not about you. You have to go out to the community and build up the community for the kingdom of God." So I said, what does that mean? I had no idea. I went 14 years to Catholic school. No mm-hmm. idea of this. So I said, "What do you mean, Father?" He said, "Well," I said, "I'm a grandmother, I'm married." I said, "I'm 63 years old. What can I do?" He said, he mentioned a few things, Brendan, and I wasn't interested. But the seventh and eighth thing he said, "I think you could pray outside of Planned Parenthood." Mm-hmm. And he also said, "I can see you working at Norfolk Prison." So I went, just like you did. So that's how I started in year 2000. I started, I called Bill Cotter, and I said, "I would like to pray outside of Planned Parenthood." So I started that August, and I've been doing it ever since. I go 2 days a week. I go from, say at 7 in the morning until about 11:30 or 12 on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Now, do you go in all different types of weather? And, you know, we've had such a tough winter here. And
oh, really? You think it's been cold? Yeah, but no, that's the part of it. You have to pray for grace to continue and persevere in this evil of abortion. And you have to pray because it does take courage to go out. Right, it's either hot in the summer or cold in the winter. But when you think what you're doing, that you're going to help a woman, you're going to help a mother-to-be and a father-to-be, and of course, you're going to save the baby. There's nothing more important. So if it's cold or hot, I just pray to the Lord, just give me grace to persevere. Mm-hmm. So we do absolutely go out every day.
And so now, how long were you just praying before you saved a baby, or well,
right.
how did that work? Were you just praying, or were you praying and trying to save a baby, do counseling at the same time? Can you tell us what?
I just prayed because I didn't know anything about counseling. So I prayed for about 6 months outside. And the prayer, I have to tell you, Brendan, is extremely important. To have people come pray silently. So that's what I did for 6 months. And I said the rosary. I would stay for about 3 hours and pray the rosary. And then one day, one of the counselors became ill. And so they asked me to step in to talk to somebody. So well, it was a little nerve-wracking, but I did. And if real quick, I can tell you what happened that day. A married couple came, and they went into Planned Parenthood, and they didn't say anything to me, and I guess I didn't say anything, but he came out to put money in the meter. And I went up to him and I said, "I think I could help you today." And he said, "Well, I don't think so." And I said, "Well, you know, you're the father, you're the man, you're the protector." I said, "Did you know the heart starts to beat at 3 weeks?" "No, I didn't know that." I said, "Well, do you know that the DNA is formed at the moment of conception?" Well, he didn't know that either. In fact, he said, "What is DNA?" So I said, well, he said, "Really, all that's happening?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You have to go in and protect your little boy or girl." So we did. And within like 10 minutes, he said, "I brought my wife out." And so now they're both standing in front of me. Brendan, I had no idea what to do. He said, "Here she is." I still remember those words. So I said,
He said, "Here she is," meaning you?
No, "Here she is," meaning his wife.
Oh,
like, okay, now what do you do?
I see.
So I really was ill-prepared. So the first thing I thought of, we'll go to my house. So I said, well, we have to go to my house, and we're going to sit and talk. So I put them in my car, took them to my home, still remember them sitting in the living room. I said, you have to start drinking milk now. So I poured milk, and I had chocolate chip cookies, and I'm in the kitchen, and I have no idea what to do. My heart is pounding. So I looked in the telephone directory, and I called a Woman's Concern in Dorchester. And John Enzer, who is a minister who started a Woman's Concern, he said, bring them right over. So I brought them in my car. He talked to them for about an hour. In those days, he was the counselor. This was the year 2000. They saw the ultrasound. They went on to have a baby boy. They call him Abraham. And Abraham is, I'm going to say, like 11 years old now.
Wow.
And from that day on, they asked me to continue counseling. It's a beautiful story, and they keep sending me little pictures. You know, he plays for Little League, so they send me pictures.
Wow.
So from then on, I counsel. And the idea of counseling is a compassionate, gentle approach. Someone who can feel the pain and anguish of a young mother-to-be and a young father-to-be that are going into Planned Parenthood, realizing that they really don't want to be there, they need help. So that's always been my philosophy. I'm a grandmother, so I have to, in a few minutes, build up trust. I have to say, I can help you this morning. Can we just talk for 5 minutes? There's so much help available. So I've always done that. I've always been that way. You cannot be judgmental. You have to have a compassionate heart. You have to be gentle. And then the perfect person, I mean, the perfect words I like to hear, yes, we do need help. How can you help me? That's what I like to hear. But you don't hear that all the time. Most times people don't want to take my information. This is what I give out, Brendan. I have a little baby hat, and then I have the pregnancy help brochure, and inside that I give my telephone number and Watch Me Grow, which shows the baby growing for the beginning from conception until birth. So if someone says, yes, I need help, then I might say, well, how far along are you? Well, I'm 8 weeks. So I say, oh, well, let me show you a little picture of 8 weeks. And I educate. It's very important to educate. And if you notice what I'm saying, I'm not talking about the baby per se. I'm talking about to the mother. What can I do to help you? What brought you here this morning? And also the father. What brought you to here this morning? What's going on in your life that you find yourself here? You're expecting a child, and you're about to go in and destroy your child. So can we just talk a minute? Can I find out about you? Because usually women are scared. They feel alone. They feel abandoned, like, I can't believe I'm pregnant, and I don't know what to do. I want to finish school. I want to go to work, whatever. Everybody has a story, but nobody listens. So the main component is listening. First of all, caring, listening to the story, showing how I could help, and then having them follow through, getting the help. I've gone to the hospital, I've seen the babies born, I've had the babies christened, so I come full circle. It's all grace, but that's what happens.
Well, you must have a lot of admirers.
Well, I have many people that call and say, thank you for being there. Thank you for being there. We have our little boy today. Thank you for listening to our story, because when you feel alone and abandoned, Brenda, you feel like nobody cares. I'm here in Planned Parenthood, but nobody cares. In fact, my roommate said, go and have the abortion. In fact, my boyfriend said, go have the abortion. So nobody really cares. I'm the mother. I'm carrying this baby, this fetus, but nobody cares. And here is a woman, I'll use myself, but we have many good, gentle counselors. Here is a person that says, how can I help you? And that means a lot when you feel alone. When you feel like nobody cares and somebody says, I care about you. So I build up the trust with the mother first. So she said, well, they'll say, well, she does care. Now I'll tell her my story, and then that's how it evolves.
I see.
Yeah.
And For those people that are thinking about it, or are a little bit scared to broach the whole idea of saving lives right there at the we'll call it the prison walls or the death camp of Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
What does it take? I mean, do you have one a week save, or are there hot spells and cold spells? Tell us a little bit about that. What kind of constitution should a person have that would like to do sidewalk counseling?
Sure. I invite people to come. I absolutely do. We need people to come out on the street, because the witness, with the prayer people that just stand there, to see 2 people outside of Planned Parenthood, or 10 people, which would impress you? You see 10 people? That is a beautiful witness for the truth. That makes the people on the buses and the trains stop and think, look, there's 10 people standing out there. Maybe I haven't thought much about life. So the witness for the truth, we need people to stand there. It's powerful. And you just have to take a step in faith. Pray about it, but some people pray forever. You say a prayer, Lord, I feel drawn to stand and be a witness for the truth, to be a voice of the unborn child. Say a prayer and then go. Don't wait. Take that step in faith. Say, Lord, I'm going. And you take a step in faith. I don't care if it's in this particular, what we're talking about now, abortion, or once you take that step in faith and let the Holy Spirit lead you, the Lord runs with you. He opens windows and doors, but He does ask us to take that one step in faith. So that's what I would say. If anybody's thinking of it, come and pray. Just get the feeling of what it's like. There's nothing to be afraid of, Brendan. In fact, if you're working with the Holy Spirit and the Lord's protecting you, you feel safe. And you know that you're doing His work. And so there's nothing to be nervous about. But I say, come and try it. See how we talk to people. Meet some of the prayer people. You'll feel a support. We're very supportive of each other.
Mm-hmm. And what about that person that does come and prays and then says, well, I want to try counseling the woman, and she goes through, it's like a baseball batter. He goes into slumps, and then he'll have a hot spell. What if the person is, no one's really reacting to her, and she gets discouraged? Right. Well, what would you say to that person?
There's no room for discouragement. When we're talking about life and death and people taking the baby from the womb, there's no time for us. It's not about us anymore. We have to remember it's about our culture of death right now. So we're there for the bigger picture. We're there for the woman, the man, and of course the baby. So you can't afford to get discouraged. And the other thing I would say, Brendan, 2 or 3 weeks, nothing happens. But something happens.
Does that happen to you?
Oh, yeah.
2 or 3 weeks? Or?
Definitely. I'll offer my help. I say, can I help you this morning? They say, no, thank you. I say, that's fine. I don't, say, please come back. We have to talk. I just give them the opportunity to know that I'm here. I say, I offer hope, help, and love. Can I help you? So 2 or 3 weeks could go by, and nobody's interested. They may take my brochure, though. So I never know what happens to the brochure. I believe, you know what, Brendan, anything we do for the glory of God is never wasted. Maybe the brochure goes in a drawer at home. Maybe they did go in and have the abortion, but maybe the sister will look at the program or the brochure a couple weeks later and pick it up. Nothing that we do for His glory is ever wasted. And things happen, the unseen happens. I might say to you, 3 weeks went by and nothing happened, but maybe a car drove up and they were going to drop off somebody, but they saw us standing there and they said, no, I don't think we'll get dropped off today. So they drove off. We won't ever know that. And it's not about success. It's about being a witness. The Lord brings the success. All He asks for us is to be a witness and to persevere, to have faith, and just keep going. And He'll take care of the success. We don't have to know about it. It's always nice. I love it when I get the call, thank you, we have our little boy. Can you come to the christening? We all love the fruits. But a lot of things we do, we never see the fruit. We just have to trust that it's being used for His glory. That's the secret. So
you'd encourage folks to come out. And
yes.
Now let me move towards, you've gain notoriety
You think?
in having a case go all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and heard earlier this year in 2014. Tell us about that, because the expanded buffer zone, and what happened there at that.
Sure, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's been exciting, I have to say that. When I started it in year 2000, the buffer zone was 16 feet. And then in the year 2007...
And there was a floating zone within it, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's true. And then in 2007, they decided to add 35 feet. And which, if you look at it from one section to the other, it's like 70 feet radius. So a couple of wonderful pro-life lawyers came to me and they
diameter.
Diameter. Is that what I said? Is that it?
Radius,
yeah. So thank you. You must have done well in math.
I took new math.
So one of the pro-life lawyers came and said, Eleanor, this really is against First Amendment right. You should be able to, as a grandmother, gently speak to somebody wherever you would like. You shouldn't have to. This yellow line is very intimidating. And so we're going to take it to the court and get it removed. So I said, fine. So we went to all the Massachusetts courts. We went to the appeals court, the circuit court, the federal court, and all of those judges said no. In fact, one judge, Brendan, said, well, Mrs. McCullen seems to be doing very well as it is, so we're keeping it. And he lost the point. It doesn't matter if I'm doing well or not. The bottom line is I should be able to speak wherever I would like on a sidewalk in America. So and then last summer it was a surprise because Michael DePrimo called. He said, we're going to go to the Supreme Court in Washington. I said, really? I said, oh, Michael, this is a long shot. Well, we got a call about 3 months later. The Supreme Court decided to hear the case. Now, the miracle of that, Brendan, the Supreme Court looks at 6,000 cases, and they pick 60, that they're going to hear and resolve.
So about 1% of all the cases that go up
so
there.
Ours was one of them, McCullen versus Coakley. So you might say, well, why does that 35-foot buffer zone bother you? Let me give you an example. If I'm talking to somebody, they're coming along, a mother and father, man and woman, and this happened just last week, but it happens. I said, I can help you today. And she said, oh, well, how can you help? So we're walking up, we're right at the yellow line, and she goes over it, and I'm still there. And she's looking, she's saying, well, come, keep talking to me, show me how you can help. And I said, well, I can't go over the yellow line. Then I've lost my momentum because she said to me, well, why can't you go over the yellow line? I said, because it's against the law. And all of a sudden, that just shoots up all kinds of red flags, like, why is it against the law? And meanwhile, I have an appointment, and meanwhile, I've lost that. And even if I lose one loss like that is extremely frustrating because she wanted help, but she's scared. She has an appointment. I can't cross the yellow line, and I've lost the momentum. And I've lost helping her, helping the man. And of course, as I said earlier, I'm the voice of the unborn child. The unborn child is the most fragile, the most marginalized. And the child has no voice. And you know, the Pope wants us to help the poor, and obviously that's wonderful, but the poorest of the poor is the child in the womb. So I'm there to speak, and to lose that one couple is very frustrating. So anyway, we went to Supreme Court January 15th. And my family went. It was very exciting. We had Mass the night before. Father Eric Caden is one of the plaintiffs. I'm the main plaintiff, but I want to remind everybody there's about 5 plaintiffs. Father Eric Caden, a young priest, wonderful priest at St. Michael's in Andover. He said Mass for us. We had 20 people. We had dinner. We had the lawyers. It was all very exciting. Then the next day we went to the Supreme Court, and I just had 4 tickets. My family had to stand in line an hour and a half starting at 6 a.m. to get in, but we were in. And there's nothing more exciting to see the Supreme Court justices come out, and I thought, oh, this is neat. And to see them all right there, it's fascinating. And the thing was, Brendan, I thought they would just sit there and not say anything. They're very spirited. It was very dramatic. They've studied the case. They're excited about it. I don't know which way they'll vote, but they wanted to hear the arguments. In fact, as soon as the lawyers start speaking, if a justice wants to, they can just cut them off. Well, wait a second, they'll say. What did you mean by that? Or go back and say that. I mean, these lawyers have to stay focused. And one thing, I'll just mention one thing about, we had Mark Rienzi. He was very good. He remained focused, even in interruptions. Now, the other side that represented the state of Massachusetts, one thing that happened, her name is Jennifer, and she started, and she said, "Justices, I would like to talk about the protesters." And Judge Scalia banged his hand on the desk, and he said, "Why do you call them protesters? They are counselors. They are trying to help women. Please do not do that." So that, of course, that's wonderful, because that's my philosophy. We are trying to help. And actually, she went on to call us protesters 2 more times, and 2 more times he banged the desk, and he said, "Please don't do that." So that kind of threw her a little bit. You know, I think she's young, and to be stopped right in the middle of your presentation. But that's what happened.
Why wasn't Coakley, why wasn't Martha Coakley, our Attorney General, why wasn't she up there presenting the case?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm thinking maybe she didn't want to get involved in case we lost. She lost, and she's running for governor. I mean, that's just a really long, I don't know if that's true. Maybe she felt that that Massachusetts State would lose the case, and she didn't want to be involved with anything that lost. Maybe she's too busy running for governor. It's a very good question, because I think she could have done a very good job, but she didn't choose to do that.
So were there any other, as you were sitting there in the courtroom, were there any other memorable moments for you as far as the case is concerned?
Yeah, well, there were several. First of all, the security is very tight. They have the guards walking up and down the rows. You don't even want to go like this, because they think like you're reaching for something. So that was surprising that it was so secure. And just to hear them going back and forth and really asking questions. And 2 of the justices didn't say anything. Roberts didn't say anything, and Thomas didn't say anything. Justice Ginsburg, you could tell she was definitely for the buffer zone. One thing that came up, they talked about people that perhaps you hear about it, you read about it, maybe people that are out there, maybe they're not as gentle as I. We have hundreds that are across the country, but you hear about the one person that perhaps is over the top, maybe yelling, maybe he's being judgmental. So that's, people want to know, well, how about them? And I say to that if I have hear anybody yelling or causing a disturbance, I call the police. That person, we don't need, it's counterproductive. We don't need anyone that is disturbing the peace, causing any kind of anger or anything like that. And so that's my feeling. If anyone is doing that, there are laws that say you can't do that. And so you call the police. Already on the books. They're already on the books, Brendan. So you call the police, and they take care of it. But that should not interfere with all the gentle people that are truly there trying to help somebody. And people say, well, why do you care about these people? You don't even know them. And that's true, but there's somehow I have a love for people, and I have a love for people that are like in a crisis, and they don't know what to do. And so I think that that gives me the emphasis to keep going out. And then when I get the call, thank you, come to the hospital, the baby's being born. You know, you get a call like that, or a father-in-law said, I know I gave you a hard time, but I have my little boy now, thank you, my grandson. So that keeps me going. You first of all have to love people, you have to be compassionate, but then when you see the fruits, and there are fruits, but my point to you is you have to persevere in anything. I don't care what you're doing. You're not going to, everybody wants success right away, and anything worth having. You have to put your time in, you have to put your heart in, you have to put your tears in. It's all work. And then you will see the results. You will see fruits. But everything that worthwhile takes time. Nothing happens overnight. But some people just want everything overnight. They want quick gratification. And life isn't like that. You have to struggle and work whatever you believe in. If you have a passion for something, I don't care what it is, just keep working, keep persevering, and trusting in our God.
Well, now, Eleanor, we're coming towards the end of our show. If people want to get in contact with you, how do they get how do they get in contact with you?
Well, I have no problem if people would like to call me at home. And I have a website. If you would like to put that up on the screen, that would be great. My home telephone number is fine. Pregnancy Help is where we go. That's the Archdiocesan Pro-Life Center, right in Brighton. Beautiful work they do there. So Pregnancy Help, if you want to put that up, that would be great. People could call there.
We have it on the screen.
Okay.
And that's your cell phone up there? Or is
that's my cell phone.
I see.
But I answer my calls, and if you leave your number, I always call you back.
I see.
Right.
Well, we want to thank you for the wonderful work that you've done and continue to do, and we wish you success on the case. We don't know what we don't know until June. We don't know the verdict, but the latest it could be is the last Thursday in June, I believe. Is that what it is? Oh, you know more than I, Brendan. Yes, that's the latest that they could come out with the decision. So hopefully it'll turn out well. Well, the Lord's our supreme judge, right? Right. And whatever, we have to walk under his mercy. So we'll see what happens. Well, thanks again. And we hope you enjoyed today's show. This special guest who came all the way from Newton, Mass. into our studios here in Boston and had a jovial time. We hope you learned a lot and you found the show to be unique, informative, content-rich, truthful, and thought-provoking. Thanks for watching. I'm Brendan O'Connell, your friend for life. Our guest today serves as senior counsel with the Alliance Defending Freedom in its Washington, D.C. office, where he heads up efforts to defend the sanctity of human life. He joined this firm in 2008 and is admitted to the bars in Washington, D.C. and Virginia. He's also a member of the bars of the U.S. Supreme Court and numerous federal circuit and district courts. He practiced law since 1990 and earned his Juris Doctor from Georgetown University Law Center. Well, welcome, Attorney Stephen Aden.
Hello, Brendan. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Dr. Aden, you gave a presentation recently over at Harvard University across the river here in Cambridge, Mass. And you mentioned the topic was the top 10 reasons to oppose Roe versus Wade. Could you tell us the top 10? Well, give us, for instance...
I'd be happy to do that. Thank you for having me on. And by the way...